I'm Kerry Smith. I'm a journalist for a science magazine and I work in the multimedia team. So I make podcasts and videos and I also write occasionally bits and bobs of news. And I have a science background. I did a neuroscience master's, but then I found science to be requiring a little bit too much patience. So I've switched to journalism, which is a bit more fast-paced. Science reporting in newspapers really varies depending on the newspaper or the outlet, because it could be a TV broadcast that we're talking about. A lot of journalists are really short on time, and that makes it quite hard for them to do the reporting they might want to do, speak to the right people, go to the source of the story, ask people who were at an event what they thought of what happened, what actually happened, or in the case of a scientific paper, ask the scientist, phone them up, that sort of thing. Not everyone has time to do that, and so they end up perhaps parroting the information that is in a press release, for example. I think good reporting is when a reporter has time to go to the source, ask them the questions that they really need to answer in order to get all of their facts straight, and then hopefully put those facts in a sensible order in the article they're writing. So that involves taking the time to talk to the scientists perhaps, talk to other scientists who haven't been involved in the work and ask them what they think of the research, ask them about the implications of it, try and think of other questions that you might not necessarily first come across, try and get a different perspective. When a piece of content is released, say it's a press release from a university about a new piece of science, one newspaper might write about it, and then several other channels, internet sites, YouTube, all of these kinds of content channels and other media might take that content and repurpose it for their own ends. So say there was a video of a worm doing a crazy thing associated with this scientific paper on worm behaviour. Well, that might get taken, that video, and embedded on YouTube, uploaded to YouTube, without any context. So then people don't know exactly where it came from, what the point of the research originally was. They don't have enough information to understand that piece of research properly. All they see is a worm. The article about chocolate and intelligence, I would really love to believe that there is a relationship between the amount of chocolate one eats and how clever one is. But I don't agree with the conclusion that the article drew, or that the original research might have drawn, because this is a correlation between chocolate eating in a particular country and the amount of Nobel Prize winners that country has. It's not necessarily even a correlation between chocolate and intelligence, because Nobel Prize winners are only one measure, perhaps, of how clever your country is. You might just have 5 clever people who've all won Nobel Prizes and no other clever people, for the sake of argument. And as we probably already know, correlation is not cause. So we can't really attribute a cause of chocolate eating to being cleverer. For example, what if there was another factor that influenced both of those things? Say how rich a nation is means that people have more disposable income, they buy more luxury items like chocolate, they eat more chocolate, and also that nation, because it's richer, invests more money in education and ends up with more Nobel Prize winners. So those are some of the reasons why I didn't think the conclusion was necessarily valid. Although the conclusion is based on a correlation and not a causal mechanism, there are some things that suggest the article is reliable. The research was done by a scientist at a good university. I actually looked him up on the internet. He exists, and he did do this research. And the article was originally published, the research was originally published in a respected scientific journal called the New England Journal of Medicine. when students are reading a science article critically, they should look for many of the same things that a reporter might look for in thinking about the same article. For example, who has been quoted in this story? Is it the scientists themselves? Is it possible to research that scientist a little bit, perhaps using the internet, find their webpage? Do they often do research like this? And are they well known for it? Is it published in reputable journals? If this is an article about a scientific paper, perhaps there's a link to the paper in the article itself, and you could go and have a look for yourself at the research article and see if the conclusions match up.